This is Eric Rolon, voice of Kendo Rappa on My Hero Academia, and host of the Tough Love Podcast. You're listening to Still Toking With on the Dorkening Podcast Network.
Hey, happy Wednesday, everybody. You're watching Still Toking With. My name is Leo. I'm the monkey behind the keyboard here. We have an awesome show scheduled for you. And as always, Mr. Benjamin, how's it going?
Bravo, bravo. You didn't screw up anything in the intro, bro.
Fuck
Nothing. I am so proud of you.
Thank you.
So, no, man, I'm really psyched about tonight's show. We met this gentleman a couple months ago at a con in Vermont. Just a really, really cool dude, man. He's done a lot of awesome stuff. So I'm just going to say, you feel me? Oh, by the way, Jaja, you're introducing the guest.
Oh, son of a... all right. Hey, it's Wednesday night. I almost said it was Tuesday. It's Wednesday night, and we're on Still Toking With, and we're with actor, voiceover actor, narrator, extraordinaire, Eric Rolon. Did I say your last name right?
Yeah, Rolon or Rolon. I think officially it's supposed to have like an accent over the final O, so it's like Rolon. That's for all my folks who still live back in Puerto Rico.
I will now say Rolon.
Rolon, like Antonio Banderas.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those shows, folks.
Oh, he's also got a bunch of, as I was looking at his resume, he's got a ton of different accents he does. Scottish, British, Cockney, Russian, Australian, Irish.
Wait a minute. He does
Spanish.
what?
Cockney.
Get your mind out of the gutter.
You know, Cockney accent, yeah, everything with that's if it's got a TH, so it's a whiff, so it's like free, 3:30 in the afternoon.
Drops right into
everything with an A. If it's baseball, it's baseball. It's face. Oh, I love it. It's face. That's what we do.
It takes me 10 minutes to get warmed up on a voice before I can even start. I'm like,
oh man, I had to get good at accents because you just mentioned my wife and I, we both have been doing audiobooks now about 7 years, and the majority of what we do audiobook wise is romance novel audiobooks. And you guys have heard of like harem anime where it's like one dude and 6 very voluptuous chicks and they're all trying to get for him. Mm-hmm. Same as that concept, only it's reversed for a girl, and usually it's like 9 suitors and they want a different accent for every single person. So it's British received, it's Cockney, it's Scottish. There's like usually there's a token Romanian inside there somewhere. There's a Spanish guy. So I feel like by the time I'm done with
a Latin lover.
Yeah, yes, it is. The Latin lover always thrown inside there. Really just a cherry on top of the cake. But I feel like I've got schizophrenia by the time I'm done with the session.
I was just gonna say, how many different personalities do you have going on in that head of yours?
It's very, very, very noisy up in here.
That's freaking cool though. Like,
do they ever fight?
Oh yeah, dude, we're at constant war with ourselves. It's like venom. We're not always united, but we try.
All right, I'm gonna start with my first question because everybody always asks, oh, how do I get into voice acting? How do I and I've found that there's really no real answer for that because everybody seems to get into voice acting their own different way. Nobody falls in Caitlin Glass that I met over last spring. She got in just by she took a tour of one of the places and they were like, hey, you want to do some voices? And boom, she was in.
Is there a question in there?
Yeah, the question is, how did you get started?
So let's see.
I could go on for hours. Hold on.
So the way I got started in voiceover specifically was, I guess this is going back way back to when I was in college. My buddy and I were sitting there and we were watching. We were both art students, and he was in time arts.
You look like you're 26. What do you mean, way back to when you were in college? How long ago?
Awesome. The nightly skin treatments are working. That's the blood of my enemies that I guess I bathe in. No, we're sitting there doing homework, and I was an illustration major. He was in time art, so he was working on probably like an animation or something. And we had Cowboy Bebop playing in the background. Awesome show. If I'm sure you guys have all seen it.
Yes.
If you haven't, it's fantastic. And I remember listening to Steve Bloom his character, he had just had like this mini monologue, and he's got that deep voice like this, is that 4-pack a day voice, but the way he delivers his lines, everything is just, it's perfect. I looked up and I was like, I'm gonna do that one day. That's what I want to do with my life. That will be fantastic. And it set me off on a road to go and seek out my first agency in Chicago. And I kind of ping-ponged around there for a little bit. I was with a place called DeSanti Talent, which they catered specifically to Latin talent, had a lot of commercial and modeling spots. But one thing led to another. I did an internship at Disney World, working in like the characters and parades over there. Came to Nashville, and really I wanted to do both screen acting and audio, but I fell in love with voiceover. Ended up meeting my wife there. It turned out that she was also very, very interested in doing acting as well, but she didn't kind of really know where to get started. And I've been now in the professional acting circuit for like 6 years at this point when I met her. And I said, well, what do you want to know? And she said, well, specifically, I want to learn voiceover because some friends of mine who are in the industry, which come to find out, Eric Stewart was a close friend of hers. He plays Seto Kaiba in Yu-Gi-Oh! He also plays Brock in the Pokemon series. He had been telling her, you know, if you want to get started, there's some places out there where you can secure audiobook work. And while it's not the most glamorous thing in the world, it'll keep food on the table and keep the lights on. Yeah, we got together. I helped her create what's called a porta booth. So I actually got one sitting right here. I can show you guys. It's made out of essentially a Rubbermaid tub. The inside is coated with acoustic foam, and then the outside is coated with a spray on rubber, so it cuts down on reverb. But you nestle your mic inside there, and it's like a recording capsule. And so I set her up with one of those. And now me, struggling artist at this point, I'm having to fight and scratch and claw for everything I get. She gets set up on this website called ACX, which is an Audible exchange. It's done by Amazon, and it's a way for like indie authors to get their books published in audio. It's kind of like you create a Facebook profile. Hey, here's my book, everybody. I'll take any and all auditions. And then you as an actor, you can go and audition, send your cover letter, and then they can let you know, hey, I love your voice, or you know what, not quite what I was looking for. Either way you hear back. She goes, right, the first week and hits 5 projects back to back to back. And I'm like, what the heck? I'm barely booking a gig every 3, maybe 6 months here, and you just nailed 5 back to back to back. It was such an influx and such a high degree of work that she had to quit her job and go full time on that. Well, as a result, she needed somebody who could engineer for her, and I'm pretty good at engineering audio. So I pushed all in. We both pushed all in together. We were in Nashville for like the next 6 months, got hitched, and we moved straight to Texas. And so pretty much she kind of force kicked us both in to doing full-time audio work in the form of doing voiceover for books.
That's cool though. Like
that's really
that the woman there is totally like was like starving actor. Ha ha ha. Let me fix this.
Oh my gosh.
He was totally like, marry me, please.
Oh yeah. I think I proposed to her after like 4 months of knowing her. Like, I mean, you know, when you know, you know.
Oh yeah.
Right.
But it really helped also that she was wicked talented. Like she's a first soprano, and she can sing like every single song inside Phantom of the Opera, all those crazy high notes. Like she can shatter glass. She's amazing. But you add acting in there too. Plus she gives as good as she gets, like when it comes to teasing each other and razzing each other.
Nice.
Just my ideal gal.
Fantastic, man. Once in a lifetime.
Right.
Yeah.
So can we bring her on and you can just
I'll get out of here.
You're just gonna sit in the corner for a minute or two.
Yeah, right. Oh, I think she's giving the little one right now. I got a 2-year-old son. She's probably giving him a bath and getting him ready for bed. But I digress.
Just one?
Yeah, we just have one. Just one presently.
How do you guys balance time?
Man, it is a bit of a struggle sometimes because I work 3 jobs essentially. I do the audiobooks, I work full-time at Harbor Freight, and then I have my own YouTube channel. And she can really only ever record if I'm not home.
So you're doing the real hustle, man.
Dude, I'm trying. Name of the game is paying off student loan debt. That's the big thing, because she went for a master's, I went for my bachelor's, and combined I think we had like a little over 112,000 in student loan debt.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're trying to do that Dave Ramsey debt snowball, and you fall off the wagon every now and then when you see that shiny thing that you want.
Oh yeah.
Get right back on.
Leo will ask you about that shiny thing later.
But what was fun about doing the audiobooks was up to that point, I guess I wasn't as quite the articulate speaker that I am now. I kind of was a little bit mushy mouthed when I talked, and it didn't really dawn on me because how often do you sit and record your voice and play it back to yourself? Notwithstanding those of us who do podcasts.
Right.
A lot, quite a bit.
Well, doing the audiobooks, you're forced to get acquainted with your voice immediately. And since the way we sound to ourselves when we're not wearing a set of cans is informed by the bones in our ears, you usually sound to yourself a lot deeper than you are. Then you hear your voice coming through a microphone. You're like, oh my gosh, is that what I sound like? I sound like a prepubescent child. This is terrible. But it helped knock all those butterflies down and help them to fly in formation, as it were. And the added benefit of doing so much accent work and doing so much character work, because typically the way an audiobook is done is you have one person and they're reading both the female and the male POV, and they're doing all the characters themselves. So if it's a guy, he's pitching his voice up and down and up and down. Same thing for a girl. Well, we were getting a lot of call for duet narration, where usually for like a romance novel, you'll have one chapter, it's the girl's point of view, one chapter, it's the guy's. But instead of reading, say my wife is reading her point of view, instead of reading all the guys' lines, she would leave just a gap in the audio there. And I would come back in and fill in all those lines and vice versa. And so it becomes more like a radio play. And like once our names got out there, people started really, really seeking us out to the point where, by the grace of God, we don't even have to audition for things anymore. They just come, which is like, that's what everybody hopes to get.
Yeah.
But because of just all that repetition, that being forced to hear myself over and over and go, oh, I can do better. I can do better there. I can do better on that. It made it so that when I finally got an agent. How do you
stop yourself from saying, all right, that's good enough?
Dude, oh man. I have a rule of three. I
got to get to that because I sit there and I'll try to record a commercial and I'll have fucking 800 times sitting there.
Oh yeah, you do like 20 takes.
Yeah, I'm just like, my voice is not in the right spot, or I went up, down, there, over there. And how do you just tell yourself enough?
So first thing I'll tell you is, given that you're so scrutinous with yourself, there's a very, very high likelihood that your worst is probably 80% of people out there's best. So like, know that going right into it. And you have to set a hard limit for yourself. Even if you come back to it like an hour later and give it one more shot, you have to have a hard limit for the first go around. So when I'm doing a book and I'm coming back in just to do the fill-ins, maybe the line is, who told you could walk in here? And I'll go, all right, who told you could walk in here? Hey, who told you could walk in here? Once I get to that third one, I just stop the recording and that's it. But I'll give myself, if it's absolutely just painful and I'm like, oh, I have one for the hat. So I get a max of 4, 3 main takes. So, and usually it's the second take is the one that I end up going with.
It must be nice to have that partner to bounce things off of too and be like, hey, check this out. My wife after a while is just like, all right, you're screaming, another screaming commercial, huh? I'm like, oh yeah, babe.
Dude, it's tough because I was exactly doing the same exact thing that you're doing. Back when I was still living in Nashville, I did a lot of on-camera auditions, and it'd be for like small parts in the show Nashville, or smaller series that Lionsgate was working on. Because when I moved out to Nashville, this would have been like 2014, and Lionsgate was just setting up a location out there. And so I was like, well, I'll beat the crowds out here, and I'll get hit on the ground, running on all cylinders, and what hopefully is going to be the next Tinseltown. So there was a lot of really small roles that were coming. Auditioned for a Burt Reynolds film that I made it to the second round of auditions for, but then he ended up getting sick and passed away, unfortunately. So we never got to make the film. Right. And even when I would do those auditions, if I was recording myself, I would do like 25, 27 takes, and I'd go with like the first or the second one that I did. And I would just feel like a lunatic the whole time because you start making adjustments where none are needed. It's like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
It's like you're like, oh, I was slow on the end. Let's speed that up. Now I'm too quick on the front. I got to slow it down now.
You sound exactly like what's going on in my head. I sit there and I beat myself up for hours.
you also got to have like like an internal reward system for yourself. So like mine is, if I don't psych myself up and wind myself up, like I am a coffee freak. I love coffee.
Yes.
So my reward is, hey, if I can stick it to playing within those 3 takes, 1 for the hat, if I absolutely have to, and I can maintain that, I'm going to reward myself with like a nice dark roast, a little bit of like full fat cream inside there, and just indulge in that. And like, it sounds dumb, but if you set up like that little reward system for yourself, or maybe it's like, hey, I want to go outside and have a smoke, or you know what, I'm going to pack a little extra inside that next bowl that you want to puff on, like some sort of reward, so long as you follow through with that reward. Because like our minds are good at protecting us, and if we don't reward ourselves for that job well done, then next time around we go to negotiate with ourselves, we're like, you didn't follow through last time.
You backed out.
No. How keep you under the bargain now? Yeah.
So find somebody else to argue with tonight.
Exactly. And then you end up just way less likely to follow through.
Right.
So that's what I do. I have my little reward system, and even if I do it really terribly, so long as I complete what I'm trying to do, always got to have the reward.
Does not sound like a bad idea. Good distraction too, to break it up. Even if I do go back and I'm like, all right, let's try this.
It was actually that was a great question, Jeremy, because as you know, Jeff and I do some indie voice acting with some of the stuff that we're doing, and I find myself doing the same thing. It's like I usually find that the first or second take was the right one, even though I did 35 of them each line. The first or second, it's because it's almost like that natural. It's the natural emotion when you're doing it.
How long did it take to read that book, Ben? 35 takes each line. How long did it take to read the book?
You're breaking up. You're like a robot. What's going on?
Oh, am I?
No, you're not. It's Ben.
Oh, Ben's breaking up.
It's me?
Oh, yeah. Well, you sound fine, though.
Yeah, you sound okay, but you're getting like all spotty.
Choppy.
I was saying, how long did it take to read the book if it took 35 takes a line?
Still working on it?
Yeah, I'm still working on it. Wait a minute. I wrote the book. I don't want to read it.
I'll tell you, that can be such a crippling thing, because like I'm an absolute perfectionist, and for that first bit there, I was talking about, you get acquainted with your voice. I'm listening to myself and I'm going, wow, I'm either going way too fast here, or I'm chewing the scenery. I'm pulling an Al Pacino, and just everything coming out is so overpronounced. And my wife was like, baby, you're good at this. You were made to do this. You need to relax, like just calm down and relax. And so she encouraged me, why don't you just crack a beer and take that into the room with you, and just, sip on that beer while you're recording. I was like, all right, fine. Took a tall boy in there, and I'm just sipping away on it. And I got maybe a page and a half in, and then it just kind of like everything just sort of clicked. And I was like, you know what? I am made for this. All I'm doing right now is essentially I'm talking to one person, because that's all who's listening to an audiobook. I'm talking to one person. So I was like, I'll tell one person a story. And then that, like, as soon as that I made that connection, it was this is so much easier now, because now I'm not sitting here like narrating to an audience, and then he walked in the room, pulled his pistol, and fired. It's like, dude, then this guy walked into the room, yanks his gun, and blasts away. And you could hear the change in the audio too. I very rarely will read reviews on Audible, because usually by and large they're just very condemning and terrible. But I thought, you know what, I'll go back and look at maybe like the first book I ever did with my wife, which was a series. It's called the Dollar Series by Pepper Winters. It's a dark romance series, so there's a lot of brutality in it. There's a lot of death. It's like if you took the romantic side of Kill Bill and made that way more of a factor, but also punched the violence up tenfold, kind of like that.
There's a romantic side to Kill Bill?
Well, I guess in the past life aspect of it, enough to make BB the little girl. But I went back and I checked the reviews on that, and people were like, this guy's good. It's all right. I'm enjoying the character. He reads very well. So I think there was 6 or 7 books in that series. I went to number 4 and looked at that reviews, and the reviews were so vastly different. It was like, oh my gosh, I was spellbound by his voice. It felt like he was talking just to me. His accent work was great. His timing was impeccable. The humor he injected, because I'll let myself laugh when I'm reading too, because I feel like it adds to it if there's something funny. it was such a stark difference. I thought, okay, well, somehow I've bottled lightning there. I'm going to hang on to that and hopefully be able to apply that to anime when it gets there eventually.
Right.
No, dude, that your wife, I think, has a good point. Like, just talking to us, the way you can go from an excited voice or down to this low, like kind of like calming. You've got the technique. You've got something going on there.
I appreciate that, man. It's definitely come with a lot of practice, but the big thing that everybody always asks when it comes to, when you're doing anime, it's all about doing funny voices, right? Because that's originally what I had thought when I was back in college, sitting there listening to Steve Bloom give the most amazing performance ever. I'm like, yeah, it's just about being able to do, hey, I got the old prospector voice, or yeah, I got the big brother voice, or I got the big bruiser voice, something like that. But what it really comes down to is selling yourself just on your own voice, your own personality, and you let that shine through as much as you can when you're doing your recordings. And so to sort of add on to the first question, after we've been doing audiobooks for a while there, we were a part of an agency into the Dallas, Fort Worth area. I sat down with the agent, we were signing all the papers, and she goes, hey, you heard of Funimation? You heard of anime? I said, yeah, actually, my wife and I were fans. A friend of ours recommended that we come on down here and check out the scene. She said, okay, well, great. We do a lot of work with them, so you'll be seeing some auditions come your way. There was a few directors in the area that were teaching some classes, and so I thought, well, I might as well go on down there, that way I can get in front of some people. So I've been doing audiobook work now for a couple of years. I thought, maybe they'll hear something that I've been able to fine tune up to this point and they'll take me on. And having had all that time acquainted with my voice, being able to modulate it up and bring it back down, I walked inside there, and just from doing the audiobooks, it wasn't about me reading like a prospector for 8 hours. It was about me reading like Eric for 8 hours.
Right.
And that was the first thing. The first class we had was with a gentleman named Joel McDonald. Awesome dude. He walked in and his class was all about the audition process. And he walks in and says, all right, how many of you here have done voiceover before? And 2 of us raised our hands. He goes, all right, how many of you have ever done any acting work behind a camera? 1 of us raised my hand. And he says, okay, what booked you the role? And I said, well, I was natural. He says, exactly that. You were natural. He says, here in anime, I don't care how high you can pitch your voice. I don't care how low you can pitch your voice. This is what I care about is, can you be authentic with what you've been given? He says, I'm telling you, if I'm going to book you for a role, I'm booking you for your voice. I don't need you to do something crazy. I don't need you to go and try and pour all this sauce on. Just give me your voice. Mm-hmm. And it was like everybody in the room was like, oh, thank God. And that was really all it was. Whenever I went in to go work at Funimation, shortly after that class, he ended up booking me for my first role in the show One Piece, and the rest, was history after that.
Right.
But whenever I came in, for all of us that did anime on the regular, your main voice was always your go-to, and then the only degree of change you ever did was, I'll pitch it up slightly for the best friend, and I'll pitch it down lower for the dad or for the brother. That was it. It was those 3 areas, and every single actor, they've got those 3 areas that they lean on, and that's just the bread and butter. Doesn't have to be off the chart spectrum or way under the spectrum. It's just that tiny bit of change.
That's pretty cool.
What were we talking about?
I have no idea. No.
And I just want to back up. Madness, you're absolutely right. The whole thing's about romance. I mean, the bride, it's
Pussy Wagon or whatever it's called.
Yeah. Yep.
It's all about romance.
It is?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, I got to rewrite the novel?
What do they say? The 2 most powerful motivating factors is love and power. Yeah, it's either power or it's romance.
Okay, well, we have power. We're good.
Yeah, that's all you need. I'll power you into loving me.
That's right.
Ooh, phrasing. Oh gosh.
So,
boy.
At this point, when you now get a script that you're going in for an audition, do they hand you a script, or do they just give you like a small piece to read? And do you already have the voice in your head, what you're already going to be bringing?
More or less. Like, so the benefit of having an agent for those of us, especially in voiceover, is that they have our voice sample there and a little demo that we've cut. It's usually 60 seconds long. Sometimes if you're doing like an accent reel, it might be 2 minutes because you're trying to make sure that you get all those different accents accounted for. But the person that's sending the audition out to you, they've already listened to your voiceover demo, so they already know that they're going to like your voice just the way it is. So usually when I get a piece to read, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just going with my normal voice, unless I see highlighted or in big bold letters, hey, play around with an accent, or we're thinking somebody who's got a voice sort of in this range. Like they might say, oh, we're looking for a big one I see on casting sheets is we're looking for the mayhem character from those auto insurance commercials.
Yeah.
We want that kind of delivery, or we want Will Arnett. Those are two that you see a lot. And so if I see that, then I'm like, yeah, I'll mess around with it. But usually it's just, okay, my normal voice, and is the character, what is he? Oh, he's a jerk. Perfect. I can play a jerk. Oh, he's a sweet, sensitive guy. Easy. I got that too. Oh, he's confused. Well, I guess I can play that. You know, and then you just you let yourself be influenced by the words on the page at that point.
So far, what's been the most, say, rewarding part of all of this?
Ooh. For me, the most rewarding part is just being able to do the work. And I guess what I mean by that is when I was younger, you know, we're young and we're dumb, we have stars in our eyes. I always thought, yeah, I'm gonna get to Funimation, I'm gonna get to Hollywood, and then I'm gonna do movies, I'm gonna do anime, I'm gonna do video games, I'm gonna make $1 billion, and I'm just gonna be rich. And my heart was more for like, I want to get the dough, like I want to make a bunch of money doing this. But when I met my wife, and the work that I was booking was so few and far in between, where she was hitting it left, right, center, and I felt like this big ball of anxiety knotting up inside, because I'm like, I've been doing this now since I was 4 years old, and she just stepped into the game yesterday, and she's having all the success. It was like, okay, well, why don't I just focus on just doing the craft well, doing it good enough that whatever money generated is a byproduct of that. It's a byproduct of me doing what I do so well that somebody wants to say, hey, I'll pay you for that.
Right.
And I guess to add on to that, the most rewarding thing that I ever got to do, I'd say that I still get to do acting wise, was be chosen just off an audition. It was I got to audition for My Hero Academia, which is the background Ben's got there, and I worked with Colleen Clinkenbeard, and an audition had gone out for it, and this is probably 2 months before I even found out that I booked the role. And usually if an audition goes out, because everything is a simuldub now, so they're typically 1 or 2 episodes behind the Japanese release, and they're releasing every single week. If you don't hear within that first like 6 to 7 days, you didn't book it, somebody else got it. And 2 months had gone by and there was no word. And then suddenly I'm on vacation. We're visiting my wife's parents, and I get an email saying, hey, you're in with Colleen on Monday. Be here at this time. And she had approached me in the hall. I've been working on directing at Funimation at this point. I've been helping cast some shows and whatnot. She had approached me in the hall and just kind of one-off said, hey, you had a fantastic audition. And I had sent in a few for the show. And I said, oh, thank you. Which one? She goes, all of them. And I thought, oh, well, somebody recognized me for the talent. It wasn't the fact that I had a name, because I was very small fry then. It was the fact that my talent is what stood out. And then getting to do that role and being told, hey, you get to unleash every single ounce of energy you have inside this. Literally just go nuts. That was the most rewarding thing. And you get paid very, very little to do anime. But the rewarding thing was compounded even further when come to find out in Japan. Originally, the fan base there, they didn't like Rappa. They thought he was a douchebag. They hated him. But after my performance in English came out, because a lot of them will watch the English performances too, everybody fell in love with the way that I did it. And suddenly there was all this love for him. My character was on the cover of New Type magazine that month, which is like a big Tokyo-based magazine. It's all anime and video games. And then because of that, he went on to be one of only 2 playable characters from that villain group in that season inside the next video game, which was called One's Justice 2. So like that whole thing has been the most fulfilling, most rewarding thing.
That's pretty cool.
The Japanese fan base will either give you the highest high or the lowest of low, especially when it comes to their anime. Once it's spun from, like you said, from the Japanese side over to the English, they watch that because it's either he destroyed our favorite character or, oh my God, I didn't know that character existed. And it just
100%.
goes, and you see it with a ton of the animes like that.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like the fans over here in the States, they get so rabid sometimes because you have like the purists who only ever want to watch subbed. So the fact that they even gripe when somebody gets cast for the dub is a little bit moot because it's like, you're not going to watch the dub anyway. So why do you care that J. Michael Tatum gets cast as the guy with glasses every time?
I had that same conversation. I did a con this past spring. It had a few anime voiceover people, and there was people in the crowd that were like, "Oh, only subs," and I'm just like, "Well, why are
you here?
Why?
Yeah. Why are you here?
Yeah.
And what?
Yeah, but like you said though, it's the fans. They can really make or break an experience for an actor because, like, realistically, saying hi to my buddy John Hines there. Realistically, when you're going in to record anime, somebody else has already laid the track. Somebody else has already done the work before you. All you're doing is you're matching the cadence and the intensity of the line. That's it. And you have to stay within that certain cadence. Because if you're too fast, well, we got to slow it down. Too slow, we got to speed it up. So you're really just trying to fit what somebody else already done. And in a sense, you get to act because you're getting to pour your emotion into it, but you're still trying to carbon copy what somebody else has done. And beyond a few little things here that get sort of lost in translation, or maybe they have a slang word that just doesn't equate to something that we would use over here, something might get changed. But people get so incensed about stuff like that. So incensed. It blows my mind.
It's worse than Star Wars fans.
Oh my God. Dude, you are not kidding.
Oh, I'm serious. Fandoms are really like, there's great parts to every fandom, I find, but there's some fandoms that just go so evil. It's just like, why are you a fan if you just hate everything?
Oh yeah, and
ain't that the truth?
You even run into that like in theater companies, because I did theater for a long time before I got really into doing voiceover, and you'd see the same like 6 to 8 people in every single play, every single production, over and over and over, and like that was them. That was what they did. They were part of the theater company, and they just wanted to do that, but they would be so catty with each other. To where you'd see relationships just totally fall apart, offset. Oh, they could put on that air about themselves when they had to act out the scene. Soon as they're off stage, just no communication. Everybody treating each other like they got a chip on their shoulder and they're just daring you to knock it off. And it's wild that it translates over not just from theater, but then when you get into professional, like Funimation, what it was, and it's now Crunchyroll, is little more than a very glorified theater department. That's really what it boils down to. You have the same directors over and over and over. You have the same clutch of like 200 revolving door actors. Usually there's about 30 or 40 of them that you hear in every single show over and over and over. And for a lot of people, when you reach that point, the love that you had for it is just dead.
Right.
You're just punching your time card. Go, oh, who am I playing today? Oh, great. Another teenager, and cool. He likes boobs, and oh, he's misunderstood. Well, perfect. Let me reach back into my bag of characters I played for the last 10 years and pull that guy back on out. And then the next show, he's big and broody. Oh, and he has a secret weapon. Great. I'll pull that guy from last season of Blood Blockade. Let's do that guy again. But unless you're approaching it from that place in your heart where you're saying, I love the craft and I want to do the craft as amazingly as I can because it's part of me, then all you're ever doing is just checking the box of, yep, acted for the day. Yep, did the role for the day. And people hear that. You can hear that in a performance so clearly.
Right. just to have fun with it.
We covered this a little bit earlier, but John's asking, how are you handling daddy duties while composing your career?
Man, it is a challenge. My little guy, like if I'm off from work, usually that's the day that I like to play defense for my wife so that she can get her recording done and then any editing that she has on top of that. She's also a novelist at the same time, so she's got her fingers in a lot of pies too. And some days where I know I'm going to have that day off, I'm like, all right, I'd love to get this thing done and this thing done and this thing done. And I have this tendency to want to feel like I've been slighted some way if I never get to it because I've got him all day. But I had to dial myself back and recognize, all right, we're a tripod here. It's my wife, my son, and myself. And, I get to go out of the house for 40 hours and work outside the house. And she's doing the full-time mommy thing, plus doing the voiceover every single day. So I think I can, swallow down whatever pride I have to really engage with being a dad. And it makes it easier that the little dude is freaking hilarious. Like he slays me every single day. And he's got very broken sentences as 2-year-olds are given to have, but everything is all-time exciting to him. Like, oh my gosh, daddy, look at this leaf. And like, he'll freak out about this leaf for a good 2 minutes. I'm like, wow, yeah, that's something there, kid. Let me see it. And then, oh shoot, wow, that really is a cool leaf. Wow, there's got red in there and there's blue. Oh my gosh, there's a ladybug right there. And then suddenly we're off in the strawberry patch that that his grandparents have grown. And we're just picking and going right to mouth with strawberries. We're coming back in hours later covered in dirt and soaking wet from the sprinkler. But I am, I guess, with difficulty balancing it all out, but it's getting more natural.
You're in the nice years. You're in the cute years.
Yep.
I'm teaching driving now. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Well, see, I got you both beat. I'm teaching. Oh, you're a first-time mom?
Woo.
Well, sucks to be you. No,
granddaddy duty.
I love it. I have a blast. Same thing, just seeing their faces. But I thought I saw John. He said he was your friend. I thought I saw somewhere in the chat that he said, if you ever have trouble balancing the career, you could just drop him off at his house.
Oh yeah.
I think I saw that somewhere, John.
Yeah.
Just saying.
John was also saying, does he hear your voice on the episodes and wondering how it's you?
Okay, so funny story there. I got to one of the last big things I did shortly before my wife and we moved away from Texas. I worked for a company called Starman Studios, and I got the lead role in a movie called A Dog's Courage. Really, really touching film. It's got a lot of really high moments, a lot of really low moments. It was came out of South Korea. Beautifully animated. I played the lead role inside that. I play a dog who gets abandoned by his owner up on like this, almost like a cliff edge where people just kind of roll up and animals they don't want, they just drop them off. And he ends up befriending this other sort of pack of dogs, and they have to make their own way in life. And we put that on, and when he heard my voice inside there, he was maybe like 1.5 then. So I guarantee you, like he was probably not even making memories then, but like his eyes caught, and he was looking around trying to find like where's daddy coming from. And then when he realized, oh my gosh, it's a dog on the screen, he was just total rapt attention. He had no idea what he was looking at. But
Dad, why don't you transform into the dog when you're home?
Yeah, right. Why won't you go fetch the ball when I throw it, Father?
God damn it. Come on.
Yeah, one of these days I'll show him some of the other stuff that I've been in, and hopefully it doesn't freak him out too bad. Most of what I did, when, for those who don't know, when you're starting off at a place like Funimation or Crunchyroll, for the first probably 1.5 years, you're playing Soldier 3A or Bad Guy 2B, and you're just dying every episode. You're dying. It's like yeah, you see the pre-roll for the scene. It's like, all right, 3 seconds leading in. Oh, his throat gets cut. Great. And then the director's like, oh, I got 3 more guys for you to play. Am I dying as all 3? Mm-hmm. Okay, great. What's this next one? Oh, I'm crushed to death.
Oh, gurgle a little.
Okay. Next one. Oh, my arm is being torn off. Okay, so I get some scream time, and then I'm choked to death at the end. So like, that's all you're doing. So if I were to just pick it, like throw it, line all my rolls onto a board here and throw a dart at it. Chances are it's going to be like some guy being eviscerated. So that could probably lead to a couple of nightmares for him.
It could.
Well, you know, a lot of us geeks and stuff that like me and Leo, we love comic books, and we would die just to be put into a comic book as somebody being killed. So like, you're living the dream, man. You're being killed on screen. Oh yes.
Was that a hint?
God damn it, Ben.
Ignore that. I don't want to be killed.
You don't want to be killed? I'd love
recurring role, you know.
You know what the rule of thumb with us is, you know, it's how deep are your pockets. It depends on how long you survive in the comic book.
Funny you mentioned like being killed off. I am a huge Tarantino fan. Love every Tarantino film I've seen. I've loved. And I always had this dream, if I could be in any film, I would love it to be in a Tarantino film, and I would just love to be a bad guy who gets killed, because they always go out in such amazing ways. Like the movie Inglourious Bastards, every dude who gets his in that movie, it's like watching poetry every single time. So I drew a picture for Tarantino. I'll see if I can find it, and I'll email it to you, Ben, if you want to throw it up. But so I did an illustration major back in college, and I'd wanted to go to school originally for both illustration and acting, but because they're both studio courses, they require like 3 or 4 hours of time every single class. And so my guiding counselor said, you know, there just aren't enough hours in the day for you to be able to do that. I know you'd love to do this, but you're gonna have to pick one or the other. So I said, you know what, I'll just do. There it is. That's the one.
Oh wow.
So I drew that, and
that is sick.
I framed it, and actually I mailed it to his agent in Hollywood, and I wrote a little handwritten note just saying, you know, how much I enjoyed his just the work that he did, and if ever our paths crossed, I would love to be a villain that gets done in one of his films. I never heard back. He probably thinks I'm a psycho because I sent him a picture of him.
He's like, dude told me to blow my brains out. No, that's not what I meant by it.
That
really
looks like perfect, like from Reservoir Dogs or something.
Doesn't it?
That is beautiful.
And by the way, bravo Leo for pulling that up and finding it so fast.
Dude, I was like, I'm still waiting for my page to load over here. Well done, sir.
That's pretty slick.
That's why we have the Leo. You know.
All right, so
before
everything can't be a success.
Stop. Time out. Thank you, Leo.
Yes,
we gotta play the commercial.
Oh yeah.
Well, okay.
Well, we're like 17 minutes past where we should have been.
Keep the lights on.
Yeah. We're gonna pause for a quick second. I want to remind everybody, for our awesome guests, definitely check show notes up above or down below, depending on where you're watching or listening to us. And if you're gonna be in, this is Georgia, right? The Georgia Pop and Horror Con. You know what? Just check out the commercial.
Get ready for the ultimate convention experience. Georgia Pop and Horror Con comes at you August 4th through the 6th, where Comic-Con meets Halloween and anime. This year we've got an amazing lineup of vendors selling unique merchandise and collectibles guaranteed to satisfy your inner fan. But that's not all. We've got a star-studded lineup of celebrity guests, including Vic Mignogna, AJ Stone, Michael Hargrove, Don Yesso, Richard John Walters, and the legendary Cherie Curie from The Runaways. And that's not all. Meet your idols, get autographs, and make memories that will last a lifetime. Don't miss out on the event of the year. Get your tickets now for the Georgia Pop and Horror Con, where Comic-Con meets Halloween and anime.
You know, I got to redo that because Jar Jar did a much better voiceover for that. So,
well, that's fine. You got to redo it anyways because there's like 7 more guests added to that list.
Yeah.
Okay.
They actually added another person today, didn't they? I think I saw somebody was added today.
Gigi Edgley was added.
Oh wow.
No.
Yeah.
Well, yes, also, but give me 1 second here.
All right, you can figure that out. But hey, listen. I'm going back to our guest.
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned
there he is. There he is. Over there.
You mentioned illustration. I see you also do cosplay as well.
Yeah, actually, that was what my YouTube channel originally got started around. Um, I uh, I had created a channel just because I'm like, yeah, you got to have a sign in if you want to watch a video where it says, "Hey, are you over 18 to watch this video?" So you create a channel, and I was really getting into there was another YouTube channel called Backyard Effects, and they showed you how to do really super cool special effects for movies on a budget. So one of the ones I had was like doing like a heart rip out of somebody's chest, like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. And it was like that you had this Tupperware container under your shirt, and you had cornstarch and water with food coloring. And you had like a potato, you carved like a heart. But I saw one on there, and it was the quick draw gun rig from Taxi. I think it's Taxi Driver with Robert De Niro. And it's that one where at the very end of the movie where he clears out that apartment building and then it flies out of his sleeve and bam, he blows the dude away. So I saw that and I was like, I wonder if I could make the hidden blade from Assassin's Creed with that. So I used the little drawer slide and some springs that I bought from a hardware store, and one I pulled off an old screen door, and I had an old throwing knife that I bought at a flea market somewhere. I made this thing. And one night, I'd been drinking with my buddies, and my
you don't say,
you don't say. I'd been drinking with my buddies, and I had enough liquid refreshment in me to say, you know what, I'm just going to film a YouTube video and put this up online. Maybe somebody will get a kick out of it, because inside my illustration time at school, we had to do at one point a how-to drawing, and so people were doing things like, hey, how to put gas in your car, and everything was illustrated right down to, hey, tapping the couple of drops off in the tank before you put it back inside its little receptacle. And so I had done a whole tutorial on how to make your own hidden blade from Assassin's Creed. So I had my girlfriend at the time film the video, and you can see this like empty beer case sitting in the background that we had just polished off, and like I kept it together throughout the whole video very, very intelligently and very intelligibly. And so we record the video. I just threw it up online. A day later, somebody texts me and they're like, dude, have you seen your YouTube? I said, no. It got like 60,000 hits just in that night that it was up. And I went, what the heck happened here? Well, it turns out that one of my friends had seen the video and they had sent the tip to Kotaku, and Kotaku did a whole story on me and the fact that I not only made the hidden blade, but included build instructions for everybody. And like in 4 days, it got 400 something thousand hits. Just boom, 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 boom. Went off the charts.
Wow.
And people were commenting, hey, you should teach us how to make more things from games. We'd love to see you do more. Well, Backyard Effects had also done a video on how to create a suit of Spartan armor from the Halo series. And I thought, I would love to do that. So I watched their little video on it, and it was a neat video, but it was really glossed over very quickly how you're supposed to do everything. And so I'm like, well, how do I install a visor? How do I resin the inside of this thing? How do I do auto body filler? And so every time I couldn't find a video for how to create that part of the suit or that prop I wanted to, I would just film myself. Once I figured it out, I would film a video and I'd say, hey, here's how I did it. You don't got to do it my way, but try it out. And one thing led to another, and my channel became all about teaching people how to make Spartan armor and different video game props and stuff. And I did that for a while, even into moving to Texas and having been there for a couple of years. I finally finished the entire build tutorial and did a video for everything on there. That's my son running around upstairs right now. But that was what the channel originally started off as. And now it's very heavily into biblical research. I'm a Christian man. I love doing biblical research, but it's mainly because I love answering the really hard questions that people ask about Christianity. Like, how is God good if there's cruelty and suffering in the world? And so if you go onto my channel, you find very diametrically opposed ends of the spectrum. You find Spartan armor. What's going on with Jesus?
That's awesome. Yeah. Have you thought about getting back into that with like 3D printing, since like the printers are insane now? Like that you can.
Oh, see, I thought you were going a whole different avenue with that. Like, have you ever thought about getting back into that? Because that'd be a pretty cool show that we could put on this network and help you really grow. See, two different ends of the spectrum there.
See, I'm the dork here, it's you gotta think.
And I'm the business. I know.
Yeah.
And I'm just here.
Yeah. Pretty much.
I have thought about getting back into it because now I have a son of my own. And actually, so John
You can do family
Hines.
cosplay.
Oh, dude. So you could probably still find it also on my Facebook page there, Ben. But my wife and I, under one of my photo, well, even on the website too, under one of my photo, I guess, dumps on there, we did a joint cosplay as Master Chief and Cortana from the series, and she looked amazing. There was a professional photographer there at the convention that we were at, and he goes, "Hey, can I get some photos of you guys here? Like, it would be great for my portfolio. Plus, you can have the photos for free at the end." I said, "Sure,
Nice.
that'd be great."
Yeah.
So John Hines, actually inside the comment section there, he stumbled across my videos as well. We became friends on Facebook, and he did a really awesome build of following my tutorials for his son. And he did a combination of Iron Man's suit of armor mixed with Master Chief's. Like, it turned out incredible. Super cool. So there's a very realistic chance that I will get back into it because I have a son now, and if I ever take him out trick-or-treating or something, like, I want him decked to the nines.
All of a sudden the mask comes.
Oh yeah, it has some CO2, so it's like venting off smoke.
Oh yeah, every kid's like,
your dad is so cool.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to now because I still fit into this suit. I
know that even when you do that, they'll still think you're embarrassing them.
Oh, probably. Yeah, that was the suit of armor from Halo 5. No, Halo 4. I did a whole set of tutorials for the Halo 4 suit of armor, and that was a very, very rewarding build because my YouTube channel, I had gone from maybe having like 400 subs to, in the course of, I'd say, 2 months, I climbed somewhere around like 10,000 because people were really hungry for just the information. And
it's a huge industry.
Oh my gosh, is it ever?
Insane.
And I didn't even know half the names that were out there. I mean, everybody's heard of Jessica Negri or Kamui Cosplay. Everybody knows those gals because, I mean, they're gorgeous and they do these really intense builds out of Warbla. But I didn't have the money to spend on Warbla, and I really loved doing EVA foam, and that's those interlocking gym mats because you can shape them with a heat gun. So I was like, well, it's lightweight, it's durable, you can shape it. It takes a beating like a champ. Let's see if I can use this. And sure enough, you could use it, you could paint it easy. So when I was doing the tutorials, I thought, well, I'll show them how to build it, and then I'll show them how to distress it, how to paint it, how to use like spray on rubber, how to do plasti dip, how to make sure that every single nook and cranny is sealed. So if it gets too hot, you don't melt your seams and have your shoulder explode when you're in the middle of a convention hall. So people have sought out the videos for that.
Jack of all trades at this point. Like, I could imagine you at a con, like somebody comes over to you to get something signed, and you're just like, "Hold on a second, I got my heat gun right here. Let me." You're all better.
Yeah, right.
yeah. You're coming apart at the seams. You didn't follow the tutorial properly. 30 means 30, not
Check
25.
me out on YouTube.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do next time? How do we make this better? No, I very likely will get back into it. One thing I really, I guess, like to say about myself is my business is to create. And I went through a bit of a cancellation in Dallas a couple years back, and it's why I now live in New York with my wife and my son. And it was painful to go through it because it really ended up in the end depriving me of a lot of ability or a lot of chances to be able to act in the capacity that I really wanted to, because I still love the craft. I haven't really brought myself to sit down and watch an anime again since it all took place, because it was some cruel intentioned individuals within that world that really sought about bringing my career down. But I still have a love for it. And I still have this need to entertain, whether I'm making you laugh, smile, wince, cry, throw up, whatever. If I'm eliciting an emotional response out of you for the purposes of entertainment, like, my job is done. I am a happy man.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome. Very well said there.
Thank you.
So we have about 4 or 5 minutes left with this amazing guest. So if you guys have any more questions in the chat, or If you don't, now it sucks to be you.
Well, John was asking, whatever happened to your wife's Mark 6?
So we ended up scrapping it. Unfortunately, it didn't survive the move. We had to move a couple of times in Dallas, largely due to gun violence around our apartment building, which was a real big mess. But it didn't survive the move. Yeah, really? I know.
In Texas,
you'd never imagine.
Just saying.
Yeah, I would love to make her a suit. What I'm probably gonna do though is there was a really, really cool build this guy did. So one of the things that people do in cosplay, if you're building armor specifically, you kind of need a mannequin form of yourself with like your bust proportions, your hips, your legs, just so you can get everything to fit right. Because it's tough to try and measure off yourself and figure it out. So you can either buy a mannequin form, or you can do what I did, and that's you get like a ratty old turtleneck, a ratty old pair of like shorts, and then you cover the entire thing in duct tape, every single part of it. Then you cut that shirt with the duct tape off of you, you duct tape it back together, and then you stuff it full of newspaper. So when it's filled out, it's your body shape. Mm-hmm. So you can build your armor and it's exactly fit. Just to you
being all smart.
Well,
I big brain on this guy.
He's all MacGyver-ish over here.
For real.
Well, I learned it from this other guy when I was trying to learn how to do more EVA foam armor, because it was like, once I discovered that, it was like, forget, because the first suit I did was made out of cardstock, and it's a thing called pepakura, which is essentially like origami on a grand scale. You're cutting and folding and gluing all these little pieces. Then you got to coat it with plastic resin, coat it with auto body filler, sand her down, prime it, paint it, the whole nine. This guy was like, here's a better way. And he had done a custom suit of armor. It was Master Chief, but the gal who had commissioned it from him, she wanted it, she dubbed it Mistress Chief. And she had sent a mannequin form of her body, and it was that duct tape mannequin. So he built it exactly to her specs. And what was really cool about the armor was she had like thigh-high military boots on that he built for her. She had like this more curvy and voluptuous looking upper torso armor. Her shoulder pauldrons were more of like a sexy, sleek look. Even her forearms, the gauntlets, everything about it, even the codpiece, like everything was really just fit for the female body. So what I'd like to do for my wife is sort of something in the same vein, but I want to add like you guys have seen samurai armor where they have sort of like the plated segment around the waist. I want to do sort of a similar thing and give her like a mini skirt that she can wear, but make it look like it's like an armored mini skirt. Mm-hmm. So someday I probably will.
Honey, can you put on the Mark 6 tonight?
I'll dim the lights and put on that album you love.
And we just became a family of 4.
Oh, Jesus.
Sorry, I had to go somewhere. So
that'll be the story I'm telling him. 16 years old. So, do you want to hear about the night? So we just finished this crazy multiplayer match. I was still mad because John dropped the ball like 6 times in a row. And walks your mother, head to toe.
Mistress Chief.
Mark 6. It was over. I was done.
It was over. Yep.
So do you find time to game with everything going on?
I do on occasion. I have I don't quite have time for like the really super involved storylines. Like one I'd love to play is that Hogwarts Legacy, because
right,
the world's amazing.
Oh, it looks awesome.
It's nuts. Like, it's so involved. You can do anything in that game that with related to that world and that story. So I found myself, I've been going back and playing a lot of retro games. My brother, he bought me one of those Super Nintendo minis. Yep. And I found out a way that you can load more titles on there. So now if I have a few minutes, I'll sit down and play like Aero Fighters or Mario World, something that doesn't require an hour's worth of investment into it.
It's kind of where I'm at with video games. I'm just like, I think either video games got like way too ahead of me, or I've slowed down a lot, because playing any of the games today, I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. How come all of my buttons do 18 different things.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
it's like
And I gotta build potions, and I gotta go hunting, and I gotta like
gather things.
yeah, I'm like
forge
hold on.
relationships.
Yeah, I'm like,
What do you mean I need clay to build
Mass
a brick?
Effect, what?
What is
I
going
gotta
on
find
here?
straw too.
well, like that new Zelda game. I don't have
don't even
too
get me
much.
started.
I don't have too much time to play, but you know, they added like a build metric to it now, and like, you know,
I'm glad I
I
the first one.
I can do simple stuff like build a bridge and stuff like that. But you look on YouTube, you have people building like mech machines and robots, and somebody built a working calculator within Zelda. It's insane.
What?
Yeah.
And we wonder why the actual workforce is depleting.
Oh, seriously.
I can't. But it looks good on my phone.
Yeah, we just lock our brains in the mental prison every single day for 8 hours.
Unreal. So, with that being said, is there any last questions from our gentleman up here? Jaja?
I'm all set. If you guys want to go to rapping.
No, Leo's got to ask his every question.
Oh, yes.
For the show.
Well, I think we pretty much covered it, but I will ask it regardless. So you're multi-talented, you know, a very creative individual, and obviously very little downtime. But you know, what is something that you dork out about? You know, like we've had people on that like dork out about, you know, the history of like sunken vessels and or have like a record collection or something like that. What is something you dork out about?
I dork out about running down the documentary rabbit hole on like secret societies like Illuminati, the Freemasons,
nice.
Skull and Bones. Dude, I geek out so hard for that. Like my wife, we'll be sitting there because she does a lot of crocheting, so she's working on a birthday present for one of her cousins right now. So end of the night, I might be like doing something on my computer, working on the next video editing, and she's like, "Hey, you wanna go down the rabbit hole?" I'm like, "We're talking about a documentary, right?" "Oh yeah, documentary. Yeah, absolutely. Put it on." "Is it Nazis this time?" "Yep. Nazis and Skull and Bones." I am in, baby. I am in.
Awesome.
Is there a documentary you'd recommend starting with?
Oh man. There's actually a fantastic channel I just found. It's not so much a documentary as it's well, hold on. No, it is a documentary. There's one done by Fourth Watch Films, and it is called The Hollow Earth Chronicles.
Ooh.
I don't know if you guys have seen
I've heard of Hollow Earth before, yeah.
Dude, I don't know if you guys have seen the most recent Godzilla film with Godzilla and King Kong, where like they go into the earth and they find all these portals to transport anywhere. They do a really, really cool series. I think they're working on number 2. They planned it for 4, I believe. That's a really wild documentary because they get into the Bible, they get into the Book of Enoch, they get into like some of the old apocryphal texts where they talk about monsters coming up out of the deep. They talk about like the earth cracking apart and the fountains breaking open and like these giant beasts that existed. It's a wild documentary.
Very cool. I'll check it out. Yeah. Do you watch the Y-Files on YouTube?
I've stumbled across them. I haven't watched them religiously, but I've seen like a couple of them.
Yeah, I've gone down a rabbit hole on his stuff. It's really good stuff.
Leo loves rabbit holes.
Oh yeah.
I do too. They taste so yummy.
That needs to be a commercial now, along with that awesome zombie coffee commercial for rabbit holes.
They taste yummy.
Well, on that note, we will wrap things up. I want to thank everybody for watching this fine evening. You know me, just Google me. You'll find a bunch of stuff. Could be true, could be not, but I run a Dorkening podcast network. Head on over to thetokingdead.com. You can learn more about it there. And I do a bunch of other shows throughout the week. Matter of fact, we're going to be doing another one in about 45 minutes. And with that, Eric, where do you like people interacting with you on social?
So you can find me on Twitter. My handle is at Eric Rolon, ERICROLON. I get some hot takes every now and then on there, but typically I try and keep it pretty tame. It's mainly a place where I can post links to my YouTube channel, which is Angel Legend. It's one word, ANGELEGEND. As I say, you can go there and find 2 things. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll find Halo Armor. If you scroll to the top, you'll find me getting into the paint about what Sold Yahweh up to. But that's where you can find me easiest.
Very cool. And we have all that in the show notes. Jar Jar.
Hey, I'm Jar Jar Jeremy. You can see me on Splash Pages on Tuesday on either Facebook or YouTube or wherever else you find podcasts. Then there's the Midweek Geeks, which is coming up tonight at 9:00. And go check out Comic Book Lovers Buy, Sell, Trade, and Auction House over on Facebook. And you can buy, sell, trade, and auction your geek stuff off with 20,000 plus other geeks.
Awesome. Benjamin.
Yeah. Okay. So, stilltoking.com is where you can find out about us, Toking with the Dead on Facebook. But I'd just say go to stilltoking.com. You can see everything you want to know about what Jeff and I have up our sleeves, what we're into, where we're going to be. Speaking of, we're going to be in St. Albans, Vermont this upcoming weekend for Rail City Fan Fest. So if you're up in that area, come by, say hi. Best way to meet people like us, like Eric, get off the couch, go to an event. Speaking of, before we let Eric go, do you have any events coming up that you want to pitch?
Nothing presently, but
nothing presently.
Everything entertainment world is always subject to change at the drop of a hat. So maybe tomorrow I will. Who knows?
Right. So, but check out the show notes up above or down below. Follow Eric. Go meet him at an event. Get a signature or 600. But yeah. To all our veterans and first responders, we want to thank you for doing what you do so people like us can do what we do. Stay safe. We'll see you next week. We're out of here.
Bye.
So come on.